Can Japan afford to wait for a fighter that does not yet exist, while its rivals already dominate the skies? Within the next decade, Japan will begin retiring 94 of its Mitsubishi F-2 fighters at the exact moment China is operating more than 300 J-20 stealth aircraft and deploying carrier-based J-35 fighters across the Pacific. The air balance over East Asia is shifting in real time, and Tokyo's answer is a gamble on a sixth-generation fighter that has yet to fly. That aircraft is GCAP, a next-generation program carrying a projected cost of more than $25 billion for Japan alone. The target year is 2035. The problem is that development delays are already mounting. China's stealth fleet is fully operational today, and Japan's window to modernize its air force is closing faster than policymakers are willing to admit. This is why 2035 may already be too late, and what Japan is betting everything on to survive. Japan faces a looming capability gap that could weaken its air defense for years. The Mitsubishi F-2 entered service around the turn of the century and is scheduled to retire in 2035. The same year, Japan expects its next-generation fighter to arrive. That means 94 fourth-generation aircraft will leave frontline service with no proven replacement ready to step in. Japan does operate 147 F-35 fighters across multiple variants. Orders are in place, and deliveries continue. But even at full strength, Japan's air self-defense force remains heavily outnumbered. China's combat aircraft inventory exceeds Japan's by roughly 6-1, a numerical imbalance that technology alone may not be able to offset indefinitely. This creates the central crisis driving Tokyo's air power planning. Can Japan realistically field a sixth-generation fighter on schedule, or will delays force it to rely on a shrinking and increasingly outmatched force while China consolidates air dominance? Japan is not attempting this alone. It has partnered with the United Kingdom and Italy under the Global Combat Air Program, merging its own next-generation fighter effort with Europe's Tempest initiative. The goal is ambitious: a sixth-generation stealth aircraft equipped with advanced sensor fusion, artificial intelligence-assisted decision-making, cooperative drone operations, and next-generation engines producing unprecedented thrust. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries leads Japan's role, working alongside BAE Systems and Leonardo. The projected cost for Japan alone exceeds $25 billion, with total program costs potentially far higher over the aircraft's full life cycle. This is not just a fighter project. It is a long-term bet on industrial capacity, alliance integration, and technological relevance. But this is where pressure begins to build. As of now, no flying prototype exists. The first demonstrator flight has been delayed, and timelines continue to slip. Every year lost in development is a year in which China expands its stealth fleet, improves pilot training, and integrates air power more deeply with naval and missile forces. Japan's planners understand the stakes. If GCAP arrives late, the country risks entering a prolonged period where retiring aircraft outpace replacements. During that gap, deterrence weakens, response options narrow, and adversaries gain leverage without firing a shot. For Japan, this is no longer a debate about future technology. It is a race against time, and the outcome will determine whether Tokyo maintains control of its skies or watches that advantage slip away before its next fighter ever takes flight. Engine development, sensor integration, and AI systems remain unproven. Japan has confirmed 2035 as the target, but defense officials privately acknowledge the risk. If a GCAP slips beyond 2035, Japan may face a critical fighter shortage as F-2s retire with no replacement in the pipeline. While Japan designs its future fighter on paper, China is mass-producing the present, The J-20 Mighty Dragon, China's heavy stealth fighter, entered service in 2017, and now numbers in the hundreds, with new aircraft rolling off production lines equipped with the WS-15 engine. This twin-engine air superiority fighter reaches Mach 2.55, climbs to 65,000 feet, and carries 4 beyond visual range missiles internally, with a combat radius of 1,100 nautical miles. Its radar cross-section sits between 0.05 and 0.1 square meters, comparable to the F-22. Then there's the J-35, China's carrier-capable stealth fighter that debuted publicly in 2024. Smaller than the J-20, the J-35 is designed for multi-role operations from aircraft carriers and forward air bases, giving China stealth strike capability across the East China Sea and beyond. The J-35's radar cross-section is estimated at 0.05 square meters, and with integrated systems that allow it to coordinate strikes with surface-to-air missiles and guide munitions from other platforms. China isn't planning for 6th-generation dominance in 2035. It's achieving 5th-generation air superiority right now. Here's the kicker. Japan's current F-2 fleet cannot match either platform in stealth, sensors, or range. The F-2 is a capable 4th-generation fighter derived from the F-16, but its radar signature, older avionics, and lack of stealth make it vulnerable in contested airspace against J-20s and J-35s. As F-2s retire starting in 2035, Japan's reliance on its 147 F-35s grows, but those jets alone cannot cover the entire defense perimeter, especially if China continues expanding its stealth fleet at current rates. Before we dive into Chapter 2, comment your guess. Can Japan's GCAP outpace China's production advantage if it arrives in 2035, or will numbers decide the Pacific? GCAP promises capabilities that sound like science fiction, but they're grounded in 6th-generation design philosophy. The fighter will feature a tailless delta wing configuration, powered by twin Rolls-Royce Vauban H.I. adaptive cycle engines, each delivering more than 40,000 pounds of thrust. Stealth shaping uses advanced radar-absorbing materials designed to minimize frontal radar cross-section beyond 5th-generation standards. The cockpit integrates AI-driven adaptive systems that reduce pilot workload by 50%. They're fusing data from onboard sensors and offboard assets into a single tactical picture with 360-degree awareness. The game changer is loyal wingman integration. GCAP is designed to command autonomous drones, collaborative combat aircraft that extend sensor range, carry additional weapons, and absorb risk in high-threat environments. The fighter's next-generation radar processes data at levels 10,000 times greater than current systems, using gallium nitride technology for jamming resistance. Electric actuators replace hydraulic systems, reducing weight, complexity, and maintenance demand. Internally, GCAP will carry a larger weapons payload than the F-22, enabling extended missions without external stores that compromise stealth. But there's one problem nobody's talking about, and none of this exists beyond design concepts and component testing. As of February 2026, the program has no flying prototype, no integrated engine, and no proven sensor suite. The UK, Italy, and Japan aim to finalize the first major international contract by the end of 2025, but technical integration, especially AI systems, engine performance, and loyal wingman coordination, remains unproven. Development timelines for 6th-generation fighters are notoriously aggressive. The US NGAD program, which began earlier, has also faced delays and cost overruns. Japan is betting $25 billion on technology that has never been operationally tested. Drop your prediction below. Will GCAP's tech leap deliver on time, or is Japan setting itself up for a decade-long delay? Japan knows the clock is running out, and it's hedging its bets. In mid-2025, reports emerged that Tokyo is considering purchasing additional F-35s as a stopgap measure to fill the capability gap if GCAP delays push beyond 2035. Japan's Ministry of Defense Acquisition Agency insists 2035 remains the target year for GCAP entry into service, with F-2 retirements beginning the same year. But defense analysts point to another option: extending the F-2's service life through a mid-life update program that upgrades avionics, radar, and weapons systems. Neither option is ideal. Buying more F-35s means accepting fifth-generation capabilities in a sixth-generation fight, and it doesn't solve the numerical disadvantage against China's expanding J-20 and J-35 fleets. Extending F-2 service life keeps outdated airframes in the fight longer, increasing maintenance costs and operational risk against advanced adversaries. Both strategies are defensive reactions, not solutions. Japan needs GCAP to arrive on time. The pressure is mounting. Japanese defense officials have expressed alarm over GCAP development delays, particularly the 2027 demonstrator flight postponement. In September 2025, the three partner nations formalized agreements on engine consortia and electronics partnerships, accelerating some development phases. A trilateral government organization, the GCAP International Government Organization (GIGO), was established to oversee the program and coordinate industrial partners. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries showcased a 1/10 scale model of the joint fighter at a Tokyo aerospace exhibit, signaling confidence in design maturity. But models and agreements don't fly combat missions. Japan needs metal in the air, not promises on paper. What they did next is even more surprising. Japan doubled down. In late 2025, Tokyo conducted a fresh review of GCAP budgets, design work, and engine development progress, and reaffirmed the 2035 in-service target. Defense Minister General Nakatani confirmed Japan's commitment to the program, stating that GIGO's launch and the joint venture remain on track towards signing their first contract. Japan is not backing out, it's accelerating. Comment your take. Is Japan's confidence justified, or is this a high-stakes gamble that could leave them defenseless in the 2030s? If Japan succeeds, GCAP reshapes the Indo-Pacific balance of power. A sixth-generation stealth fighter operating alongside F-35s gives Tokyo the ability to contest Chinese air superiority across the East China Sea, defend the Senkaku Islands, and support U.S. forces in a Taiwan contingency. Dual-loyal wingman drones extend Japan's effective air fleet without proportional increases in pilot numbers, a critical advantage given Japan's personnel constraints. The fighter's long-range strike capability allows Japan to target Chinese air defenses, naval assets, and land-based missile systems deep inside contested zones. But if Japan fails, if GCAP delays stretch into the late 2030s or early 2040s, the consequences are severe. China gains a decade of unchallenged stealth dominance while Japan flies aging F-2s and limited F-35s. Regional allies lose confidence in Japan's ability to contribute meaningfully to collective defense. The United States faces increased pressure to cover Japan's capability shortfall, stretching American air power thinner across the Pacific. And China interprets the delay as weakness, a signal that Japan cannot keep pace with Beijing's military modernization. Here's the part that kept planners up at night. The United States has already offered Japan a potential alternative. Washington proposed selling its own sixth-generation NGAD fighter, the F-47, to Tokyo as a bridge solution. The offer could complement GCAP, but it also raises uncomfortable questions. Would Japan abandon or scale back GCAP in favor of an American jet? Would reliance on the F-47 undermine Japan's push for defense industrial independence? Or Could Tokyo operate both platforms, accepting higher costs to ensure coverage? The decision hasn't been made, but the fact that the United States extended the offer signals doubt about GCAP's timeline. The broader implication is this sixth-generation fighter development is a race Japan cannot afford to lose. France, Germany, and Spain are pursuing the separate Future Combat Air System (FCAS) program, though internal tensions have caused fragmentation, with France potentially going its own way. Germany may pivot toward GCAP if FCAS stalls. The global sixth-generation fighter market is consolidating into 2 or 3 programs, and only the successful ones will define air combat for the next 30 years. Japan's bet on GCAP is not just about replacing the F-2, it's about securing a seat at the table where the future of air warfare is written. Which side wins in your wargames scenario? Comment your top 3 reasons below. Best ones get pinned and featured in the next video. And so can Japan field a 6th-generation fighter by 2035? Or will delays force Tokyo to rely on a shrinking, outmatched Air Force while China dominates the skies? The answer is this. Japan has committed to 2035, but the margin for error is gone. GCAP's success depends on flawless execution over the next 9 years, prototype flight in 2027, systems integration through 2030, production ramp-up by 2032, and operational deployment in 2035. Any single delay cascades into the others. Japan is betting $25 billion that it can compress 6th-generation development into a timeline even the United States has struggled to meet. Here's what you need to remember. First, China's stealth advantage is real and growing every year. GCAP delays. Then China produces more J-20s and deploys more J-35s, widening the capability gap Japan must close. Second, Japan's hedging strategies, buying more F-35s or extending F-2 service, are stopgaps, not solutions. They buy time, but don't solve the core problem of air superiority in contested Pacific airspace. Third, GCAP is Japan's last chance to build a domestically led 6th-generation fighter. If the program fails or delays beyond 2040, Tokyo will become dependent on American or European platforms for its air defense, surrendering strategic autonomy. What's coming next in this arms race is already visible. China will continue expanding its J-20 and J-35 fleets, likely introducing upgraded variants with improved engines, sensors, and weapons by the early 2030s. The United States will field its NGAD F-47, setting a new benchmark for 6th-generation performance. Europe's FCAS may fragment, leaving GCAP as the only viable alternative to American dominance in next-generation air power. Japan's 2035 timeline isn't just a procurement goal, it's the deadline to remain relevant in Pacific air combat. The question now isn't whether Japan needs GCAP. It's whether Japan can deliver GCAP before China's numerical and qualitative advantage becomes insurmountable. Tokyo has made its choice. Full commitment, no fallback, 2035 or nothing. Now it's your turn. Which side wins in your wargames scenario? Comment your top 3 reasons below, and the best ones get pinned plus featured in the next video. The question now isn't whether GCAP will change the Pacific balance, but whether it arrives in time to matter. If you found value in this discussion, please like, share with your peers, and subscribe for continued insights into emerging technologies.